From meeting Lauren Graham to watching a screening of Turtles All the Way Down and saying hello and hugging Melissa Albert, I am so excited to share this month's reading wrap-up. Hey book babe, let me start off with talking about the bad ones. So I'm going to do this month's wrap up a little bit differently. Normally we're doing makeup while I'm talking about my books, but I have a lot to share because I went to the LA Festival of Books and it was insane everything that happened. So first of all, this has to be the top read for me this month, The Bad Ones by Melissa Albert. I did receive an ARC and I'm so happy I finished it in time to actually see her at the festival. This book is so good. It's definitely for readers that love a creepypasta vibe. If you are from that era or from that time of the internet, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but it's almost like urban lore, new legends that come up. It is set in a small town. There is grief, there is loss, there is a lot of mystery, and it starts right away with 4 mysterious disappearances, which is pretty amazing because most of the time YA takes a little bit of time to get in there, but Melissa just bam starts the book right off right away. I seriously enjoyed this one so much, and guys, I freaked out meeting Melissa Albert in person. I have read her since her debut novel, and I was like 19 when I first picked up one of her books. I actually recognized her at the book awards when we were all just sitting waiting for the event to start, and I stopped her, got past my shyness, my awkwardness, and my overthinking, and went up to her and just chatted with her, tried to find my words to just like spill everything I was thinking. I was able to tell her that I actually got The Bad Ones as an ARC, and I think it is her best work to date. This is something I wrote in my review as well. This is her top work for sure, which makes sense, right? Because authors change and evolve over time. But she also announced at the LA Times Festival on her panel that she wants to debut in the adult bookish space. I'm so excited because Melissa Albert has pushed the limits in YA for a long time now, and I think she more than deserves and is ready to debut in the adult fiction section or adult fantasy. Whatever she goes for, she's gonna kill it. Had a great time chatting with her, meeting her. Definitely recommend her book so much. Melissa Albert is a very peculiar writer. She reminds me a little bit of Maggie Stiefvater in the sense that it's not for everyone, but it is honestly so good and so impressive. Her storytelling, her pacing is incredible in this one, and you won't believe what the actual title means. You'll find out toward the end of the book. Also super exciting, she actually gave me a book rec, and I might actually have to do a video on all the book recs that my favorite authors have given me, so we see what we think, right? Next up, you guys, I met the Lauren Graham. Oh my gosh, if you've never watched Gilmore Girls, you definitely should. It is one of my top comfort shows of all time. Definitely more for like the fall winter vibes. It is such a good show, and I ended up reading both of them once I found out she was gonna be on panel. She's basically touring for this book, but the paperback version, because the hardcover came out a long time ago, but she wasn't able to do her book tour then. Have I told you this already? Seems to feel like an extension of Talking as Fast as I Can. And between these two books, I have to say I love Talking as Fast as I Can way more. In Have I Told You This Already, I feel like Lauren Graham sounds really sad, a little nostalgic. She definitely gets more deep, more vulnerable, and I really admired her being very open about Hollywood and basically eating disorders and body dysmorphia. She does end up touching on those topics because that's where she came from, and at the time there wasn't really a lot of social media, but she does make a note that there is a ton of social media now that forces us to really compare ourselves, when back then it was still very dominant in like magazines and all of that, but a little bit easier to hide in some ways. She also goes into the unsaid rules that you have to follow once you're in Hollywood, but how you basically figure it out along the way. I really love the way she dove more into her mother and some bad experiences that she also had in Hollywood in this one. But this one actually made me cry. You can really see her heart just poured into it. You can see that Lauren Graham is there to support and uplift other women, and how she is so grateful for other women who have lifted her up, and how bizarre it was that she thought she could even make it as an actor, and just the journey that she goes to become an actor. As a Gilmore Girls fan, this is definitely a must read. You're gonna find out a lot of things that were pretty unexpected, like how the show ended pretty abruptly and they didn't really have this big celebration like you would imagine they would with such a successful show. There's just so much more in here, but I ended up tearing up in this one, so this has to make it into some of my top favorites, whereas the bad ones I gave 5 stars. This would probably be a 4.5, and this one would most likely be a 3. Honestly, seeing her live, seeing her speaking with one of her favorite friends was amazing. She seemed honestly really shy, and a little bit like her most recent book. Actually, she's also written fiction before she actually wrote these collections of essays, but it was so nice to see her like live. I felt very nostalgic seeing her. She did talk about her blue coat a little bit more, which you'll actually read about in these 2 books. Some fans got to ask questions, and I asked really nice ones as well. Overall, it was so nice being at the LA Times Festival of Books. What an experience. I so can't wait to go next year because I mean, they just have amazing panelists. This month I did start, and I was so close to finishing Turtles All the Way Down. I think I'll probably finish it right in early May. That didn't stop me from going to the screening. HBO Max adapted the book into a movie, and you guys, I think that was the best screening I've ever been to. I have been invited to past screenings, more like thriller and horror-esque than book to movie adaptations. So Turtles All the Way Down was the first screening I attended that is specifically from a YA book to the big screen, and what a beautiful experience, honestly. First of all, the entire audience are like fans of John Green, right? We like his writing, we like Turtles All the Way Down that was written way back in 2017. And I say that way back because even though it hasn't been like 20-30 years, a lot has happened since 2017 until now. The world has changed a lot, and it is drastically different from the world in Turtles All the Way Down, where I think Tumblr was still a thing. To watch it with other fans was surreal. You could hear the whole room sniffling, crying, laughing, all at the same time, all collectively gushing over our main love interest. Really brokenhearted along with our characters, but the best part is John Green was there, and so was the main cast and director of this film. So once we watched the entire movie, because this panel did end up being like 3.5 hours, they came out to do a little Q&A and a little chat, and honestly their chemistry was amazing, and you could see how raw they were after watching it with us. We were super raw. I had friends sitting beside me, and like new friends I made in line sitting beside me, and we were all just like puffy-eyed, and we were just so moved by how funny this was, and also how moving, just like the book was. Once you hear the title and the meaning behind the title on film, you will break down. And the director did take some creative differences, and she paired up with John Green, but the point is he also made those creative decisions that changed some points from the book onto the screen because they had to. And like I said, because it's a different time, I think you're still gonna love the movie a lot. It's just separate from the book, of course, but still carries the same heart, and honestly did a really great job of adding different punches, because I think you do have to change it a little bit when you switch mediums. I can't wait for you guys to watch it. That's gonna be on HBO Max. Make sure you take your tissues, and make sure you watch with a friend as well, so that you can both cry together. Next up, your girl is straight up in her thriller era, and I am loving it. I ended up reading 2 thriller books that are very opposite on the writing spectrum. One of them was like incredible, it's made into a show, which I can't wait to watch. The other one is collectively regarded as like trash. I know I am absolutely all over the place, but April was quite an insane month for me in the best way possible. And if you are enjoying all the chaos and you're not yet subscribed, make sure you hit that sub button. It is absolutely free for you, but it gives me a ton of support and makes it possible to bring you even more free content and more books to review and share with you all. But I had a great time. Like, I had such a fun time reading it because I am pretty new to thrillers. Maybe I'm just not bothered by poor writing or like strange pacing. It's a very new genre for me, but I do appreciate my thriller bookish girlies letting me know that there are books out there that are way more complex and have better prose. So the first one I read was You Shouldn't Have Come Here. I was in a little bit of a rut, and I talked about this in my last video that I think reading slumps just mean that you need a break, and I dive way more into all of that in that video. I just wanted something more fun, basically, to just have fun reading, and I ended up picking up this book, and it was honestly perfect. I was laughing the entire time though, because the MC basically talks about that female MC's eyes as blue. Literally every line he mentions her eyes, starting from the first time they meet. He says blue. Her blue eyes. I stared into her blue eyes. Those blue eyes. She was looking at me with those blue eyes. And I just started laughing so hard every single time I read blue. Bizarre. It was definitely just something super fun, super easy to read. I feel like this does range in the 2 to 3 star spectrum just because I ended up reading Sharp Objects right after, and damn, that was a pretty incredible thriller book. That book honestly made me uncomfortable, made my skin crawl. It made me want to just hug myself and like curl up into a ball like I am now, even just talking to you guys about it. It was so good. That was suggested to me by a few other thriller accounts over on Instagram and on Threads. I can't recall everyone because there were multiple people that talked about this book, and it was made into a Max show, which I'm really curious about, but this book was so freaking dark and it had so many messed up things. I don't even know if I could watch that, but we're gonna try. I felt so much for our MC in that book because she basically has to return back home to a very toxic and unhealthy mother. Their relationship is so jacked up, not to mention her mother remarried and ended up having another daughter, but their age gap is like 20 years. So this new girl, Emma, it's like with an A, but it sounds like Emma. She's freaking crazy, okay? She's freaking nuts. I feel like there's a reason this takes place in a small town because her behavior is so erratic and like insane, but she's super rich and she's like a popular girl in this small town, so she gets away with a lot. Their family's powerful. There's a lot of hush-hush things around it. The female MC actually struggles a lot with her half-sister though, because she did lose her previous sister very early on. This was before her new half-sister is even in the picture, and so for both of them it's kind of weird because they both share this lost sister, but they've also never met each other. They don't know each other, and they both have very different relationships with their mom, but both relationships are very toxic. Like, it's so unhealthy. There are all these little girls that have disappeared, and they have found them without their teeth and with really strange like ritual stuff on them. I'm not talking ritual in the sense of like religion or anything like that. I'm talking about the killer doing specific things to the bodies before, you know, killing them or after killing them, and nothing that's like essay related or anything like that. You'll just have to read it and find out. But our female MC is basically a journalist that is investigating this, that is sent by her editor, and it's really difficult for her, and I feel like it's really well done because who wants to go back to their hometown where it's just stuck in the same place but there is so much darkness in it. I feel like the ending still gave me absolute chills. It still made me like like sob and like scream as I was like finishing this book. It was really well done, and I can't wait to read more thrillers. It's actually so exciting because I'm officially a Macmillan audio influencer, so that means I get a lot of advanced listener copies, and my first pick is actually another thriller that I'm currently reading, and I'm already like 50% through, and it's called If Something Happens to Me, and it is so good so far. So I'm so happy to be in this thriller era, and I can't wait to share more of that with you guys. Now, the last book I want to mention, it was actually also an advanced copy, and for the record, if this isn't very clear already, the advanced copies don't affect my reviews at all. They have ranged from like a sad 1 star to an absolute 5 star, so I am always honest with these reviews. So I finally read a Nora Roberts book. She's been around for a very long time. She was primarily a historical romance author, but this book stood out to me because it is like a thriller mystery. I had never read her books before, but apparently everything I praised her for is everything she is known for, which is having really great writing, really great characters that have common sense, but also a story that keeps like pulling you more and more and more. It was so good. It's called Inheritance, and if you like a spooky manner but with kind of quirky ghosts, a secret twin, an inheritance trope, small town romance, this is gonna be for you. It's so funny it even has romance, but in the most wholesome way. I loved our main character so much, and I loved her friends even more. All the characters in here just made so much sense because I have seen a lot of times like some thrillers you want to just like bang your head against the wall because you're like, why would you do that? Kind of like we do in movies. But Nora Roberts makes her characters make sense, and I love it. It can be really really easy to make them too realistic and you lose your reader's attention because it's too real, it's kind of boring, you want some drama, you want things to still happen. And oftentimes authors opt in to make their characters kind of dumb in order to move the plot forward. And in Nora Roberts' case, she did not do that at all, but the pacing was still great. This is one of those books that I'm gonna recommend you read more in the fall winter, just like with the bad ones. Those two are so perfect for spooky season. And the best part is that Inheritance is part of a bride trilogy. The last amazing trope is actually lost brides. So there's this witch that ends up cursing them and it's insane. Basically all the brides of the Poole family and manor end up dead on their wedding day. It is crazy and we don't know why, like what's going on. So it does have timeline jumps between the 1600s back to the present 2023. It is honestly told in like such a great way. The best part is this book is going to be a trilogy. It's called the Lost Bride trilogy. So the second book is, I think, set to come out in November. So it will be a perfect time for you to read book 1 and then read book 2. I think I ended up giving it 5 stars. So it is definitely a top read. Basically, I enjoyed my reads a lot in April, but it felt like a very long April. I swear, I thought I read Inheritance in like March. And then I thought that I read Sharp Objects in March as well. So it has been like a very long time. By the way, we are almost at 700 peeps and that's just like bizarre to me. Honestly, I appreciate every single one of you who watches, who comments, who likes, who shares, who tags me in clips while they're watching my video. That means so much to me. It is so cool that a bunch of you are actually listening to my ramblings and shenanigans and like my reviews and pick up books that I recommend or try them out for yourselves. And I'm not trying to get all mushy gushy, but I'm just saying I appreciate you so freaking much. That is my incredible wrap up, y'all. I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about the festival. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next video. Bye!